Hey y'all, hey, and welcome back to another session of Meditations with Marigny. So, first of all, let me correct one thing. If you look at my previous video from this morning, I said that today was June the 18th, and today is actually June the 17th. And I came back, I want to make that correction because I wished a happy birthday to my uncle, and his birthday is on the 17th. I don't know why all these years I thought it was on the 18th. But meanwhile, I made that correction. So that was my public broadcast announcement. I'm doing my own PBAs as well. So if you enjoy my videos, I would love for you to click like. I would love for you to share it with a friend and jump in the comments and give me some feedback. And I would love for you to subscribe. But I wanted to come back because this morning, remember, I was talking about conflict. And, I've been doing the series about the benefits of having a father. And I got to my desk and I began to think about the conversation that I had with my son in reference to um, just conflict that he and I have had and how we've been working through that and talking through some things. And just I've pressed a little harder with him because he's not one to really communicate. He'll shut down. And I've been pressing because what I realize as a mother is if he does that with me, he will carry that into his adult life or how he deals with conflict. And just because somebody has the louder voice doesn't mean that they're correct. it just means that sometimes if it's somebody with a louder voice, you got to talk a little bit softer in order to get your point across. So um, that's a nugget for the ladies if you didn't understand what just took place right there. As an educator, one of the things that they used to ask me about the children, especially those who had extreme sensory issues, they were like, how do you get him to stay so calm? Because typically it's with boys. I had it sometimes with girls, but you see it more in boys. And it was because when the boys in my classroom would escalate, I would not with them. There were times, and there have been times that I did, but typically when they would escalate, I would de-escalate. And I go in the opposite direction of whatever direction that they're going in until we find a good medium for us to come back to a place where there could be classroom management without me losing control of my classroom. And when I say control, without me losing the authoritative perspective that I had in the classroom with the student, not just with that student, but with all the students. So I want to carry that over into my conversation with you about conflict. And I'm coming back with this again because I talked about my older son, but I want to talk about my younger son. There's been some transition that has taken place with us and a couple of things. And last night, I want to be specific. I asked him to do something to help with some cleaning out that we're doing. I'm doing some major spring cleaning. And when I say major, I have a dumpster at my house. I am throwing away stuff that I haven't used. I've called some family members and I'm like, hey, I know you guys love some things that are in my house. If you want it, you better come and get it. So I had a nephew, he came, I had a perfectly good dryer. And I texted him and I said, hey, do you know anybody that can use a dryer? He said, I can. I said, there's nothing wrong with it. It's coming out my house. I just bought another one a couple of months ago and I was going to try to sell it on Marketplace. But to be honest, I was like, let me just sow these seeds and get rid of this stuff. And so some different things got taken away. And in the midst of that, I needed the muscle power of my sons. I need their physical help to assist with certain things. And my younger son, he had an attitude. He didn't really want to help, kept disappearing, didn't come back to try to assist. And this video probably is going to be more for parents talking about relationship. And I was talking with him this morning and I gave him an example of the fact that he plays baseball. If you guys are on my channel, you see that I post his information. He's a senior this year, so we're trying to get him out there so he can get scouted and get picked up by a couple of schools. And I explained to him that his summer program for baseball, the sacrificial offering for me was that I did not go on a trip that I wanted to give myself for my birthday. And I explained to him that if I'm going to make that type of sacrifice, and I was talking just like I'm talking now, I was not hollering, screaming, or yelling at him. I said, I'm going to expect reciprocity, that when I asked you to do something, that you're going to do it. You're not going to give me pushback. You're not going to huff and puff. You're not going to act as though I'm asking you something that is aggravating to you. But I want you to know that I am not going to allow for you to not do what I've asked you to do, and you be rewarded for that by doing things that are going to assist you, but they don't assist me. And I explained to him that the sacrifice of me making sure that he has everything that he needs when it comes down to his baseball privileges, not because I just want him to play baseball, but I did that because that keeps me from running all over the place and driving from state to state and taking him to different places. However, we're all going to make sacrifices. And I'm saying that to the ladies because you can get your point across, whether it's to your children or whether it's to your man, without having to holler, scream, yell. Now, do we all get to go there sometimes? Every now and then. It really takes a lot to push me to the point that I am out of my character. And when I say out of my character, out of my normal and natural state that I enjoy to be in. I'm just not a big argumentative type person. So if I get pushed to that, and I can get there, like there's a whole character that's out down on the inside of me, and she can go all the way if that's where we want to go. But she does her best. Marigny does her best to keep her under wraps. Because when she come out, it ain't gonna really be good. There's typically no recovery by the time we get to her. And so I want to focus in on how we talk to people and how we expect for them to respond. What I shared with my son is that there are sacrificial offerings that have to go forth for everyone. And with his baseball, there's a sacrifice of my time. There's a sacrifice of me driving to the park. There's a sacrifice of more gas being needed for my car. There's a sacrifice of me having to give up time where I'm studying in the car, or I'm sitting at his baseball game with a laptop in my lap because I'm trying to finish my assignments, but I'm still trying to be a good mother. There's a sacrifice for everyone. So when it's your turn to sacrifice, don't have an attitude. Do it with grace. Do it with a pleasure to know that I'm returning back to my mother what she's given to me. And not only to my mother, but I am training my sons that I want you to understand that this is what reciprocity looks like in life. This is what it looks like in your brothership. This is what it looks like in your friendships. This is what it's going to look like in your partnerships. This is what it's going to look like in your marriages. And so you don't start with people when they are an adult. And that's part of the challenge that we're having in this world right now, is that many people have not had the discipline and the structure as children. So therefore, they didn't get some of those techniques and those qualities until their adult life. And you have to then give grace, if they are willing to communicate through the process, to give them space to grow. Now, if you meet somebody and they don't have all the skill sets that you think they should have, and they don't have all the abilities that you think they should have, but they have the willingness to try and make sure that they are able to capitalize on the things that you need from them, then I think that that's a person that it's worth doing that relationship and making sure that you are in a good space with them. But if it's someone who is like, I'm not willing to grow, I'm not willing to move, I'm not willing to change, I don't want to develop, then you have to let that person stay where they are. There's a blogger that I listen to, and she has a podcast, and I want to say her first name is Lynn, but I think her last name is Rollins, Rollins. And she has a book that she's written, and I think it's a series, and it's called Let Them. And she's talking about, when people don't want to support you, let them. When people don't want to do what you want them to do, let them. When people want to stay the same as what they've always been, they don't want to grow, let them. And the series is so good. I get to listen to things more than I do get to read. My space of movement is on the go all the time. And so when I'm at my desk, sometimes I'll take that time and put on a podcast, or I'm listening to some type of self-development videos and things of that sort. And even my YouTubers, when I listen to most of you guys, it's because I'm sitting at my desk. I might be working on a report, or I'm filling out a document for something, and I'm listening for learning. And I'm saying that because with my son, what I explained to him this morning as we were driving is that I don't want a relationship with my son where I have to always take something away from you. I don't want to have to take your phone. My boys, if I'm honest, they don't really ask for a whole lot. They don't ask for clothes. They don't ask for shoes. They do not. The most that this child who I'm talking about is going to ask me for is something going to be baseball related. He's going to be asking me for a bat, or some type of shoes, some cleats, he mentioned the other day that he needs some new batting gloves. And he's gotten sponsored by one company where he's, how do I say, he's not necessarily sponsored, but when he does his videos and he sends it to them, then they post the videos on their website. So, you know, they don't really ask for anything. And so I don't like taking away their phones because they're not children who are really giving me no major problems. They are just young people who are trying to develop and grow. And as adults and as parents, it is part of our duties to help them to know how to work through conflict resolution. They can communicate with us as adults and they don't have to be disrespectful. One of the things that I told him is that his voice has changed. He has a deeper voice now. And I told him, I said, I need you to go back to saying yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Yes, sir, no, sir. Because if you put ma'am and sir on the end of it for me, it lets me know that you're not being disrespectful. Because sometimes I'm like, okay, that didn't come out right. And he said, well, Mama, I wasn't being disrespectful. Well, if you put ma'am and sir at the end of that, then I'll feel a lot better and it'll come across a little bit differently for me. And so you can have those conversations, not just with your spouses and not just with your mate, not just with your partner, but have those conversations with your children so that you are planting seeds and letting them know how they are able to move forward in the future. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this second video. If you have, I would love for you to click like, share it with a friend, and subscribe. But if nothing else, jump in the comments and give me some feedback. Let me know your thoughts. Have you had conflict with your children? How did you deal with those conflicts? And what are some of the tools and tips that you would give to someone else for their children? Have a good day, y'all. Bye.